Welcome to Soccer Morning on NASN. Here's your host, Jason Davis.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Jason Davis on Soccer Morning, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. We are back on the air after an extended weekend. You got 3 days. If you're American, not everybody who listens to this show is American. I don't want to leave anybody out. We got our boy Vince up in Toronto. I think we have some other Canadian listeners. Happy regular old weekend, and sorry we took Monday off to all of you Canadians out there, or wherever else you may listen to this show. But we are back, and I think the extra day will do us good. The extra day to sort of process everything that happened over this weekend, because it was off the charts insane, too much happening. Just crazy. Just ridiculously crazy stuff this weekend. We had a promotion final in the championship, QPR going up. Is that good, bad? Are you indifferent to that? They're going to get hit with an FFP fine, 50 million pounds or whatever. This is a club that has been mismanaged pretty spectacularly in terms of spending. I guess you can't say mismanaged if they wanted to spend all that money. And after QPR secured their promotion, Bobby Zamora with the goal towards the death of that game. And you feel really bad for Derby County, but as QPR was securing their promotion, I went looking around and found a story about, and I had a couple of QPR fans come at me. QPR's payroll last year, because that's the latest figures they had for this story, but their payroll last year was 30% higher than Atletico Madrid's, who just made a Champions League final. And we'll definitely talk about the Champions League final, because that's another part of the craziness. Real Madrid beating Atletico Madrid for the Champions League title, scoring 4 times to completely wreck the feeling of that game. I mean, you had so much happening. Diego Costa starts the game. Simeone decides to give him a chance. The horse placenta did not work. Let's just clear any doubts over the ability of horse placenta to heal muscular injuries, is gone. No, Diego Costa was not miraculously healed by horse placenta. He was not effective in that game. He came off. I don't know, what minute did he come off, Diego Costa? It was so fast, so quick, and nobody was surprised by it. Nobody. I put the over-under at half an hour, I think, before that game started. I was way off. I think it was like the 10th minute he came off. Disaster. Simeone burning one of his substitutions that early in a game that you knew always had the possibility of going to extra time. Sure enough, they get Real Madrid gets a goal from Sergio Ramos again. Okay, Sergio Ramos, your Champions League hero, goal scoring wise for Real Madrid, and then Gareth Bale with the goal, and then it just snowballs from there. Then it just snowballs, and you have Ronaldo being Ronaldo. He fulfills every expectation you have of him. You can love him. No problem with you loving Ronaldo. He's amazing. He's an amazing player. And he's a good-looking guy. And he knows it. And he's happy to take his shirt off and flex for you after he scores a penalty. Attack on penalty. Yeah, okay. Celebrate the Champions League victory. Be ecstatic that you won. It was an amazing achievement for Real Madrid. La Decima has happened. They have 10 of them now. They are the most successful team in the history of European football. But, come on. JT Delaney, I don't feel sorry for Atleti. They blew it in the last minutes of the game. Costa came out in the 9th. I don't feel sorry for Atleti necessarily. The better team won on the day. Atletico Madrid, they have a chance. They have a La Liga title that they can celebrate, that they can hold on to. The fact that they made the Champions League final was like gravy for their campaign this season. It was an amazing achievement just to get there. If they had won the double, if Atletico Madrid had finished that off and won the double, I really think it would be nearly impossible to put that achievement in the proper context and to imagine that there will be another achievement remotely close to that, not just in soccer, but perhaps in any other sport. I mean, we're talking about I don't know. We're talking about a mid-major winning the national championship in basketball, but also, I don't know. There's no comparison. You really can't compare. This is Vanderbilt winning the SEC title and going on and winning the national championship. That's what it is. That's as close as we're going to get. And that's obviously amateur sports and not the same thing at all. So it would be nearly impossible, but they didn't pull it. They didn't pull it off. They didn't have enough firepower. They burned it up substitute in the 99th minute. Eventually, Gareth Bale, who had missed several golden chances before that, comes good with the header. And Real Madrid lifts the trophy, and deservedly so. Congratulations to Real Madrid. Fantastic stuff. So you had that. I briefly touched on QPR, Bobby Zamora, that victory. Again, feeling bad for Derby County. This means Joey Barton's back in the Premier League, everybody. Who's excited for Joey Barton back in the Premier League? I know I'm not. I am? I'm not. Am I? Maybe? Maybe I don't know. I really don't know. Joey Barton is... Joey Barton's a character, of course. Everybody knows this. Joey Barton is also maddening, potentially violent, thoughtful. Is he thoughtful? Can we give him that? I don't know. All right. Let me pause here for a second to touch on soccermorning.com, which is the website where you go to support the show. We have 3 days left in the month, 3 days left in May. We're not really close to where we wanted to go goal-wise, so we need to push pretty hard for you guys to step up and help us out, keep us going. We've got some big stuff planned for the World Cup, but we need a bridge between now and then. So we desperately need you guys to step up. If you love the show, if you're all in on this program, if you listen to the live version or the podcast version or whatever, please consider helping out the show at soccermorning.com. Doesn't take a lot. Hopefully you'll consider a recurring subscription type of deal, which will create a base for us to keep moving forward. We don't want to talk about the end of this show. I don't want to mention that. I really don't want to even think about the possibility that Soccer Morning is going to shut up shop one day. But we are in a position where that possibility is out there. It's something that we have to talk about internally because we don't have any other choice. Soccermorning.com, guys. Appreciate the help. Thank you so much to everybody who's already contributed. Phone lines are now open. 347-756-6276 is your phone number. If you want to get in, Eddie in Brooklyn wants to talk about Cristiano's abs. Call me, Eddie. You want to talk about his abs? We're all jealous. But here's the nice little saving grace in my household. My wife is not a soccer person. She's not. I try to talk to her about it on occasion. She's vaguely aware of things. When I told her that Landon Donovan didn't make the World Cup team for the United States, she was shocked. Now, that might be the only American player she knows, but still, she was shocked. She was surprised to hear that Landon Donovan wasn't in the World Cup team for the United States. And on Saturday, Champions League final time, Ronaldo scores the penalty, takes off his shirt, does his flex. He is the golden god of abs and everything else that he is. I mentioned to her that this was happening. She said, I'm not really interested in that. She does not find Cristiano Ronaldo attractive for whatever reason. Good. I mean, I like it. I mean, fine. It gives me just a little bit of a confidence boost for whatever reason. Eddie from Brooklyn, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, Jason? First of all, let me tell you something right now. I used to have those abs.
Okay, Eddie. I believe you, man.
I'm not gonna. When I did, I showed them off every second I could. So anybody who hates Cristiano for doing that, you're just mad you never had abs like that.
Come on. All right, look, Eddie. It could both be an amazing achievement to even have those abs. Congratulations, Eddie, on your former glory as a guy with a six-pack. But at the same time, be a very douchey move to pull them out. Come on.
No.
It is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Eddie. Don't even. It's not about whether you have them or not. If you have them, use them to your, share them at the beach, share them at the pool, share them at the proper venue. That's all I'm going to say, Eddie.
Every venue is a proper venue when you have abs like that.
Whatever.
No, the problem that I had with a lot of people, they took that moment with Cristiano Ronaldo and it's kind of a lack of a performance. Because first of all, he was hurt. Watching that entire game, you can tell he was not 100% for that match. But they took that specific moment to kind of criticize and justify their quote unquote hate for Cristiano Ronaldo. But let me tell you right now, if you look at that goal, Bale's header in extra time, if you look at that formation, the left side of that 4-3-3, you can see Cristiano Ronaldo as the left back, Marcelo as the left midfielder, and Di Maria as the left forward. The man cared so much about winning that title. He did literally anything he could, including taking himself out of the position that he normally plays on, and somebody who was healthy enough to do it, and then him staying back and sort of defending, recovering the ball. And that's why Madrid ended up scoring that goal, because he let Di Maria push forward on the left side of that formation. And lo and behold, he took on Juan Fran was done. Di Maria was the only one that could really take him on. He took him on, and he ended up winning because of it. Fair
enough. I have never questioned the man's commitment to the game. I've never questioned his abilities. I mean, not his ability, but people question that it's always about him, that he only. Well, look, Eddie, it can be. This is a complicated thing to consider. You can be a selfish, you can be a narcissist and still find yourself in a position where it benefits you to play a secondary role. I mean, what you're saying is absolutely a credit to Cristiano Ronaldo, but it's also he wants to win so that he can bask in the glory of the win. I mean, it's all connected. I'm not criticizing him for it. I'm just saying it's all connected.
No, but I think that people really genuinely think that he's more of himself than the overall achievement of the club. Like, especially a lot of pundits on TV.
Well, he doesn't make it. He doesn't make it easy. A little bit. He doesn't make it easy, Eddie. He doesn't make.
That's what I'm saying. They take that moment. He doesn't make it easy, but they take that moment, and that's what they want to focus on. They don't want to focus on the fact that he basically played left back for that entire extra time moment. Okay. And that's what ended up winning the match for him.
Fair enough. But I think that if you ask for, well, he probably wouldn't say this because he's image conscious, but I'm assuming that Ronaldo's okay with everybody talking about him taking off his shirt. I think he's okay with that. I think he's okay with people ignoring his contribution because he took off his shirt and he's on the cover of whatever that was with Arena. And I don't know. I mean, the guy makes it difficult, but at the same time, you sort of need that character. I mean, I'm not saying this is black hat, white hat, good versus evil. I mean, I think that's the dynamic that's been set up between Ronaldo and Messi, and it's clearly not like that. I mean, neither one of those guys are saints or devils. I mean, they're both complicated individuals. I think Messi is not as squeaky clean as he comes off, but it doesn't mean that there's an easy narrative there we're gonna pull out. And again, Ronaldo makes it an easy narrative with his actions like the shirt and everything else. I mean, but congratulations. I mean, Real Madrid did it, and they should have. They had the better team.
Definitely. My question is now, is there any chance Jeff Cameron starts at right back so we can have the most beautiful side at the World Cup when they play Portugal?
Well, I don't.
Those two men really care about their appearance. Can you imagine? Do you think they would be concentrated enough to play?
I don't think, based on what's coming out of U.S. men's national team camp, and they've got that game against Azerbaijan tonight, I don't think that we're going to see Jeff Cameron at right back, unfortunately, Eddie.
That's a mistake.
Yeah.
One thing though, when Chris Wondolowski scores 7 goals today against Azerbaijan, because this is his type of competition, I just want everybody to calm down.
Okay, we'll see what happens, Eddie. Appreciate the phone call, man.
All right, take care.
All right, there you go. Rick from Philly, you're on the line. What's up?
Hey, Jason. Did you know that Landon Donovan got left off the U.S. roster?
No, I didn't.
Literally everyone at every barbecue I went to stopped me and mentioned this.
Really? Okay. Well, this is part of what I was going to ask people today. Coming out of your Memorial Day weekend, provided you're American or live in the United States and celebrated said holiday, I want to know about your experience with whatever you did. I mean, look, I think it's interesting to have the Champions League final juxtaposed to what happened in U.S. soccer circles on Thursday and then Friday and then leading into Sunday when Donovan played for the Galaxy. I think all of that.
Please don't mention that.
Well, okay, I know you're a Union fan, Rick. I know that's a painful memory, but I think it's interesting to consider. Are these parallel things? I mean, I'm the soccer guy, so I'm watching it all. I'm tracking it all. I care about it all. While I'm tweeting about Landon Donovan not being in the team, or I'm tweeting about the other aspects of the national team preparation. I'm also watching the championship. I'm also tracking QPRs or QPR and Derby County in the championship playoff final. I'm also, following all this other stuff. But I don't know. Is there a parallel path? And when we talk about the non-soccer people, the casual fans, the World Cup fans, they're not paying attention to the Champions League final. What they do what they do know about,
you know, when you had Manchester United versus Barca, I guess it was 4 years ago at this point. That's the only time I can remember the casual fan mentioning it. But I mean, I'm at these barbecues. My grandmother, my aunt, I'm at my girlfriend's family's barbecue. Her mother, her brother-in-law's mother. You know, these people who never mention soccer. Did you hear that nice Landon Donovan got left? Oh, what are we going to do?
Is that what he is? That nice boy, Landon Donovan?
No, seriously, that was the tone of the thing.
Interesting.
And, you know, it got me thinking because I'm watching the Champions League final, and you see Ronaldo with the shirt ripping and all that. You see Real Madrid winning the 10th, although it's really only the 4th if you don't count the state-sponsored years. And you think, Cristiano Ronaldo is sort of a postmodern villain. He's the one player in soccer who actually sort of embraces that a little bit.
Well, you know what he is, Rick? He's a pro wrestling villain. I mean, he's literally takes it to that extreme.
That's exactly it. And I thought to myself, how awesome would it be if after this snub, Landon Donovan turned into Dark Donovan, emo Donovan. And he starts wearing the dark clothes and the sunglasses, and he starts hanging out with Freddie Adu as his sidekick.
Well,
it would be awesome.
I think that's part of the thing about Donovan, and not to make this too analytical. I don't want to make this a big deal, but I do think Donovan presents as a blank slate in a lot of ways because he doesn't seem to project a strong personality. He's not Ronaldo. I mean, he's done a couple of things. He's had a couple of moments. You remember in 2009, Rick, when they went to the Confederations Cup and they played that final against Brazil, they scored that amazing counterattack goal with Charlie Davies, and Donovan finishes off. And Donovan's response to scoring that goal was to point at himself and say, "Me." That was so outside what we usually got from the Atlanta Donovan that it kind of threw people for a massive loop. Like, what? Landon Donovan's got an ego all of a sudden? I mean, we knew he did, but this was different. This was on the field. This was him drawing attention to himself. And we have this notion when it comes to the U.S. national team. I mean, if Ronaldo does that for Portugal, no big deal. You expect it. It's what's supposed to come with the territory. But if Donovan does it, or if any American player does it, we react. We react in a negative way because this is supposed to be about the team. Everybody's in this together. It's not about one guy. Go ahead.
That's absolutely true. And I think it comes from this. Landon Donovan is or presents as the ultimate example of the way we used to think about soccer in this country. He's the suburban white kid, well-spoken, does the interviews, does all the platitudes, went off to soccer camp essentially for years and then came back out and played in all these tournaments, never did anything offensive. He's the ultimate product of Braderton, if you will, the sort of homogenized ideal of the U.S. soccer player.
Sure.
And in that sense, his not being called up is sort of symbolic of this shift from that centralized development to the embracing of the ethnic development and the embracing of the individual club academies and everything else. He's almost, for lack of a better term, he almost became an evolutionary dead end in the way we develop players. But the way he presented, the common fan, the fan who only watches the World Cup, who only remembers Donovan as, the guy who scored against Algeria, that's what they expect an American soccer player to be. And I think that's why they kick it so harshly when he's not that.
I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of this relates to 2010 and that moment, that singular moment that everybody saw and heard about or watched the video of, whether they knew who he was at the time or not. And I think that it's just that very basic connection. I appreciate the phone call, Rick.
Thank you.
Apparently I've got a baby on the line. There goes Rick. 406, you're on the air. I lost him as well. 347-756-6276 is your phone number if you want to get in. We don't have to talk about Landon Donovan. We did a lot of Donovan talk on Friday, obviously. But then you have, in response to his, well, this is not exactly true. In response to his being cut, he scored 2 goals. But in the aftermath of being cut from the national team, he did return to the Galaxy. He did score 2 goals. He did break the record for MLS goal scoring. He did all of those things. And that, if nothing else, extends the narrative, complicates the narrative, creates a new wrinkle in the narrative. Do those 2 goals that Landon Donovan scored against the Philadelphia Union prove anything about his ability to help the national team at the World Cup? Not really. Not really, because unless you want to point to that one game as a sign that his form is not nearly as poor as perhaps Jurgen Klinsmann thought. But we already knew. We already knew that this was more than Landon Donovan's form. And I know it's out there now that Donovan finished in the top third of all players when it came to the beep test. So it's not about fitness. It's not. It's a little bit about this. It's a little bit about this, and a lot about Jurgen Klinsmann not being able to relate to Landon Donovan. Vince in Toronto, what's up?
Hey, Jason.
Yeah, hey.
I'm up here, so I am more removed from the situation, obviously. But it just seems like anytime I look at anything U.S. soccer related, you always have that little bit of group of people immediately. Where's Donovan? Where's Donovan? Where's Donovan? Where's Donovan? It's a bit like how dead does a horse have to be, for you to stop?
Whoa. This is what I don't get. Okay, he is the most famous American soccer player ever. He is the best American soccer player by resume ever. There's no doubt about that. He's only 32 years old. He has shown the ability to be a game changer at the MLS level, regardless of what's happened this year. He still seems to have something left in the tank. There is a history with Jurgen Klinsmann. He has had the sabbatical and everything else. How is this beating a dead horse when it's 3 days? I mean, we're not talking about a week and a half. We're not talking about going into the game against Ghana. We're still talking about Landon Donovan. We're talking about the Tuesday after he was cut. I don't understand why this is a dead horse. Yes, we should be talking about the rest of the team, and we certainly will. But he is an overwhelming figure in the American game. How is this not appropriate to talk about him being left out?
Well, I mean, it's for me, in my opinion, it's a bit overdone, Jason. I mean, the tweet will have nothing to do with Donovan. It'll just have something to do like, oh, we're on our way to practice, and then someone will immediately chime in, not adding anything to the argument, just saying Donovan. Just where's Donovan?
Well, wait. We're talking about
that's not going to change anything.
You're talking about Twitter and fans on Twitter. I don't know what you expect, Vince. I'm not sure what you expect, man. I thought it was hilarious when I think it was Saturday, or maybe it was yesterday. I don't know, or Sunday, whatever. Yesterday was Monday, so maybe it was Sunday. U.S. Soccer tweeted out. It was Sunday. U.S. Soccer tweeted out a blank lineup. Now, the first thing I thought of was, oh look, it's in a diamond. It's a 4-4-2 diamond. Maybe that's what the United States is moving to. Let's talk about that. And there's a very good possibility that's what's coming after what we saw against Mexico. But if you looked up the mentions of U.S. Soccer in the next 10, 15 minutes, it was a bunch of people going, there's no Landon Donovan. Where's Landon Donovan? Landon Donovan should be in that lineup. Landon Donovan, because the question was who should be in the lineup, and it was all Landon Donovan. I just think that's a natural reaction on the part of fans, Vince. They're not adding anything. You're right. But that actually also indicates that people are still worked up about it. So while we sit here, those of us that are paying attention every single minute of every single day, maybe we've overdone it. Maybe we should be done talking about it because we've analyzed it from every possible angle. Those people still care.
No, absolutely they do. I mean, and this isn't going to end after the World Cup. No matter what happens with the U.S., people are going to be talking for this forever, really. Hey, remember when Landon Donovan didn't make the team? Oh, yeah, I remember that. I was on my couch expecting to hear he was going to be on the team,
right,
but he wasn't.
Right.
And I mean, at the same time, I never would have thought that Marcus Beasley would be going to his fourth World Cup while Donovan wouldn't. I mean, that's just not something that I thought would be fathomable. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, keep trying to say words that are very difficult to say, Vince. Appreciate it, man. You got anything else?
Yeah, Jason, I don't know. I'm guessing you saw the news, but Grant Wall pointed out that it looks like Diskerud is going to wear the number 10 for the U.S.
Yes.
I don't think he's a starter. Of course not. His best position is probably where Dempsey plays in the hole, depending on the formation. But I think it's interesting. I mean, I like the kid, even though he's older than me. I do like him a lot, and I do think he has a good future with the team. I can't really think of anybody else who would wear it. I mean, in qualifying, It was like I did like a little chart. It was Donovan, and then Torres, and then Corona, and then Diskerud. I think Diskerud only wore it like a few times, but I can't think of anybody else. I mean, everybody else has their favorite numbers. I know Dempsey doesn't like the number 10 because of some New England curse. I know you love curses, Jason, but
yeah.
And then I know Bradley, the number 4 is his favorite number, and I can't really think of anybody else who would wear it.
We're Americans, and when it comes to numbers, we identify players with specific numbers. We don't do it the other way around, the way soccer's done it. I mean, I'm not saying that there's not Americans shouldn't be aware of the history of numbers in the sport. Absolutely, we should. But I just don't think we put as much importance on who's wearing the number 10 as some other country might. So I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, as you said, Mix is the only real candidate to wear it, and he's probably not going to start.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because when I became a fan of soccer and I learned about the value of the number 10, I started looking at other sports and seeing, who wears the number 10 for this team and who wears the number 10 for this team.
Yeah.
And what was funny is that a lot of good players for in their hockey teams who wear the number 10, those were like the scorers and stuff. So that was a pretty good correlation. But actually, before I go, Jason, I want to share another curse with you because I know you like these things.
Right.
I don't know if you ever heard of this curse, but it's in the J League. There's a striker, Ryoichi Maeda. There was like a thing going on where every season the team that he would get his first league goal against would end up getting relegated, and it happened for like 6 straight seasons.
Wow!
And it was like a big deal because one of the big teams in Japan, Gamba Osaka, got scored on by him, and they were his first goal. And people were like, "The curse isn't going to happen. These guys always finish top 3. They won't get relegated." And then at the end of the season, they ended up getting relegated, and people were freaking out. Like it was fantastic.
That's a great curse.
Broken last year, I think.
Okay, well that's a great curse, but that's an ephemeral curse. It can't last 30 years like some of these other curses, because as soon as he retires, it's over.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Appreciate the phone call, Vince. Thanks a lot, man. 956, you're on the air.
Yeah, this is Johnny Bravo.
Hey, Johnny Bravo. Appreciate the patience, Johnny Bravo. What's going on, man?
That's cool, man. I just got to say that I approve of Cristiano Ronaldo's abs. I'm straightforward like that.
All right. Look, Eddie says if you got it, flaunt it. And I mean, look, if I had those abs, maybe, I don't know if I'd be doing it here on the show, but maybe I'd be using every opportunity to show them off.
Yeah, hell yeah, I would. Especially in front of girls.
Okay, Johnny, go ahead.
And I think Green should wear the number 10, Who cares who wears the number 10,
Who cares? Yeah, no, I'm with you.
He's going to be honored.
I'm with you 100%. If it's not, and it was interesting, Grant Wall did write something. Go to soccer.si.com to find it. He did write something about the number 10, and basically it was a lot of players begging off. Like, Clint Dempsey, I like the number 8 for the national team. I wear number 2 with my club. Michael Bradley, I like the number 4. A couple other guys. I mean, you're going to give the 10 to Graham Zusi out on the right flank? No, maybe, probably not. And who really wants it because Donovan was wearing it before? Nobody's really going to want it.
I don't think so. Yeah, that's some big shoes to fill up.
Absolutely. And it just brings more attention to you and your individual play. I mean, yeah, you want to go out and do your best, and you're going to do that no matter what. But do you really want that extra scrutiny? Do you want somebody shoving a microphone in your face saying, you're wearing the number 10 that Donovan wore at the last 2 World Cups. So you really, how do you feel about that? That kind of thing. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Johnny?
Well, thanks, man.
All right, man. Appreciate the phone call. Johnny Bravo, good caller there. I'm not sure who this is. You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing? This is Washington, New York.
Washington, behind his firewall and wherever you are.
Remember, I call you from my office.
I know. Your secret location. You're, you go. What's up, Washington?
Hey. First of all, let me just tell you that on Friday, I felt like that guy who goes to church every Sunday and then on Christmas can't find a seat because the church is packed. What I mean by that is...
Awesome, yeah, I like that.
I listen to your show every day, and I call in every once in a while, but yet Friday I could not get on even though I want to try it.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, I dig that analogy. Yeah, you go every week, you have your spot, and then, the tourists come out.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as like, and this makes it on the sin side of things, but you go to a bar, you have your favorite bar, New Year's Eve, Mardi Gras, the place is slammed, everybody's doing shots. It's just annoying. Washington.
Well, listen, kind of on the flip side of this whole Donovan news, right? Just a little bit, just concentrating on the rest of the team. In order for this to be, I'm curious about your opinion on this because I have mine, but in order for what is success for this World Cup for the United States? What do you define that? Where do they say where they said, okay, they were successful? It certainly isn't 3 and done.
Nope.
So is it qualifying to the next round? Is it getting to the quarterfinals? Is it getting past the quarterfinals? What is success for you?
Man, I think success is getting out of the group because of the level of the competition within it. I do think success is getting out of the group. If you go 3 and out, even if you pick up a point here, a point there, I don't think you can label that success. I mean, we don't want 2006 is remembered as a terrible World Cup, and yet they drew with the eventual champion. Right. I mean, that's some small thing to hang your hat on, but nobody cares about that because they didn't progress. I think that's the same thing here. You could draw with Germany, and if the rest of the rest of the group stage goes poorly, that doesn't mean anything.
See, to me, though, success is at least getting to the quarterfinals. I mean, I know what you're saying. I know we got a tough group. I know that.
You know who they're going to run in. Washington, do you know who they're going to run into if they qualify? Let's for the sake of this argument assume they qualify second out of the group. Do you know who they run? You know who they likely run into in the round of 16 match?
I don't have the fixtures in front of me. Is it Brazil because of the way you're speaking? Who is it?
It's Belgium.
Oh, is it Belgium? Okay.
And we know Belgium is loaded with talent. Does that mean they're going to show up and be that good and be a real challenger for this tournament?
If we were able to get out of this group, then yes. If we were able to get out of the group, we can beat Belgium.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because this is a tough group. And not only that, but we should have the attitude that we can win. And we should have the attitude. Everyone going to the World Cup should have the attitude that they can win the World Cup. Now, for some people, that's just a dream. But I really don't. I think it is. I mean, is it a long shot? Yes, it's a long shot. But it is a possibility for the Americans. You have to remember that in 2009, we beat the eventual world champions, and we beat them fair and square.
You know what's interesting? Okay. What's interesting about what you're saying, Washington? I agree with you 100%. And this is the same argument most people have if we take and analyze this roster as an attempt to build for 2018. That just doesn't work. That offends us on some deep level.
I'm not building for 2018. I'm building for. I don't have a say on who goes on the roster, and if it were me, Landon would be on it. Okay, and I take out this spot taker. What's his name? I forget his name. Oh yeah, Julian Green. But anyway, I take him out, but I have to work with what I've got, right? And I have to trust that Jurgen did his job, did his analysis, and did not let any personal feelings. He said, this is the team that I want for the plan that I have. And I really think that if he puts that together, then all pistons are firing. Like I said, when this happened in 2009, we beat Spain. No one believed we would beat Spain. No one believed we would even draw with them. We beat them fair and square. I mean, I really think that we should, to me, success is getting at least to the quarterfinals, if not beyond.
Fair enough. I think that there's an element, what I was trying to say is that while you could look at this team and imagine that this is Klinsmann building for another World Cup and that offends us on a deep level, you could also look at this roster and say, you know what? He wants to have really fit guys and a large dose of speed in this team. And you can imagine whether or not Donovan fits in that idea of a team. But if you look at some of the choices he's made, he's brought in and he's decided to keep guys who are in most cases extremely fit, and in some cases speed is their major asset. And I think that's a reasonable way to look at the team that he built. I will be interested to see what happens against Azerbaijan tonight, Washington, because we don't know exactly what he's going to do with his back line, and he's talked about this lineup, the starting lineup, potentially being the team that goes out against Ghana on the 16th. So, we're kind of just waiting and seeing what he's going to do. And I think that the whole Donovan thing sets up an interesting dynamic for tonight's game. Azerbaijan is rated 85th in the world. You've got Bertie Votes on.
It's a tune-up game.
Everybody
knows
I realize that. Game. I know that. But what I'm saying, though, is if they go out and they win 2-0 and they struggle at some points, people are going to have an absolute conniption, and we are going to start talking about, this is going to be a disaster. You're going to see pieces flying out of mainstream media that says they're going to go to the World Cup and get drummed. That may be true. I don't know how much this game will inform that, but there is a burden on Klinsmann and this team to go and drop 5 on Azerbaijan.
I agree with you.
I appreciate that.
At least.
Yeah, absolutely. You got anything else, Washington?
Yeah, one last thing. You think Donovan at 36 can make it to the World Cup squad?
No, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
All right, Jason.
All right, thanks a lot. I think Donovan probably retires by 36, to be honest with you. Byron, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Jason? How are you doing?
I'm doing a show. I'm back after a break. How was your weekend?
Well, I heard about Donovan from people I didn't think of.
So you had the same experience as Rick. Like you went out and did your Memorial Day thing, and people were talking about Donovan.
Yes, and I received texts from friends that don't even like soccer, and they were like, "What? I'm hearing Donovan's on this phone."
Yeah, that's one of those. That's one of those moments as an American soccer fan When that barrier gets broken down and people who normally don't care are asking you about it, first of all, it's a little weird. You feel like you have to explain everything. Well, this is what happened, and he took a sabbatical, and oh yeah, Klinsmann brought him to Bayern Munich in 2009. Like, you have to talk about all of this stuff. They're not going to care about that. All you really should do is just feed them back what they're saying. Like, oh, I'm surprised Donovan's on the team. All you got to do as a soccer person is like, I know, it's crazy, right?
It's because the attention he got was kind of amazing. I mean, I had never seen anything like it. Relating to soccer, like on ESPN, Fox Sports, wherever. I mean, he was on.
Yeah.
He even made it to the Yahoo homepage.
Yeah, that's the big time. Yahoo homepage, absolutely. Byron, since we're talking about this, give me your expectations for the game against Azerbaijan tonight.
Well, I think it needs to be just the U.S. running over this Azerbaijan team. I mean, especially after all this criticism, people are going to start to talk, regardless whether it's true or not. I mean, and this Azerbaijan team, which, I mean, I know we usually get plastered by any European club, like, they play. And, yeah, I mean, I think the U.S. just has to run this team over.
Appreciate the phone call, Byron. Anything else, man?
Well, yeah, one quick thing. I don't know if you remember Klinsmann. This was a while back. He made a comment or answered a question that the U.S. wasn't going to win the World Cup.
He did say that, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand. I'm realistic. I don't even think we're going to get out of our group. But I mean, for the average fan, how do you think that makes us feel? Like,
I think it's interesting that you bring this up, Byron. I appreciate the phone call. I got to move on, but I think it's interesting to consider this because I think at least in terms of an American context, and this is true across all of our sports. We want our coaches, we want the people in charge, we want the people who make those decisions and set up our teams and are ultimately responsible for the results. We want them to lie to us. Even if they don't believe their team is good enough to go win a championship, we want to hear from their mouths that they are. We want them to believe it so that we can believe it. And I don't think that Klinsmann understands that. I don't think he gets that there's this unwritten, unsaid pact between coach and fan that you say, we can go win this World Cup. Even if you don't really believe it, just say it so that we can all latch on as fans. Because what is fandom except deluding yourself over your chances to go and win a championship? 401, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Jerry from Providence.
What's up, Jerry?
Hey, I was just calling because I want to harken back to the conversation. I think his name was Gary Smith. He talked about Ghana with you last week.
Yes, Gary Allsmith.
Was
yes.
that right?
Yes.
Yeah, Gary Smith. And I thought it was interesting that he talked about Freddie Prinze Boateng and that I guess maybe like the culture in Ghana was okay with him not showing up to camp in Ghana and that they kind of just accommodated him.
Mm-hmm.
I found that kind of interesting that like maybe, I don't know if it's not in the culture of maybe the United States or maybe it's just a thing not in, Jurgen Klinsmann's culture of being German, of making exceptions for people who, they kind of make exceptions for exceptional players.
Yeah.
I mean, so I found that interesting.
Yeah, no, I think that there's some interesting psychology at work there. I mean, I'm not going to begin to understand how Ghana fans feel about their team or how they view their team, but Kevin Prince Boateng at one point retired from international soccer because he said the travel was too much. And then when he came back, I mean, I think that they were upset that he retired. I think a lot of people were upset about that. And this is a player who had a choice between Germany and Ghana and ultimately chose Ghana. I don't know. I mean, does that indicate some sort of inferiority complex? Are they sort of beaten down and that's why they don't care and that's why they allow the exception? I don't know. I mean, it is an interesting thing to consider. And I don't think it would ever happen here. I really don't think any player would ever get that pass.
Yeah. As far as just, we wouldn't go that far to let somebody, even if we think Donovan is so, out of the ordinary for an American player, so exceptional.
Yeah.
What he did last year with the sabbatical pretty much like soured his relation with a lot of fans. And, I think that kind of killed it. And there's no way, the fact that Jurgen left him off the roster, his sabbatical, like, kind of gave him an excuse to do that. If that never happened,
yes,
there would have been kind of no excuse for the.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the sabbatical played a large role in it. Thanks for the call. I think the sabbatical played a large role in it, and it also gave Klinsmann an excuse. 516, you're on the air.
Hey, Jason. It's Al Hirschman. Good morning. Do you think we can compare the Landon Donovan situation to the Samir Nasri situation? Meaning, if Landon Donovan can't come in as a substitute, why have him on the team? Same thing with Samir Nasri.
Yeah, I used Tevez as the same sort of thing. Although Tevez, part of the problem with Tevez is he hasn't been in the team consistently in Argentina for quite some time now. It's maybe closer to Nasri, but the problem with that is that Nasri's a jerk. And I don't think a lot of people like Samir Nasri in general. Clearly, there's a personality clash there, but between Nasri and the French football authorities of all levels. But yeah, you don't bring a guy. I think Landon Donovan would have been fine being a substitute. I think he would have swallowed that role, and I think he would have been fine. I think he could have made a difference. But you could imagine a possibility where, just in terms of what the team has to deal with coverage-wise and media scrutiny and everything that goes into being at a World Cup, you can imagine that Donovan not being a starter is more of a distraction than Donovan not being there. Certainly. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, just one more thing. Backing off the fact that DeAndre wouldn't make this team, do you think that he's going to somehow start in one of these 3 games to prove that he
No, I think that he is... I think that he is a player that you're more likely to see late in the game for his speed. I don't know exactly what role that'll be, but he's there because he's fast. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Nick in Toledo, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Jason? How you doing, man?
Before I get to you, Nick, Nathan McVitie is bringing up a point, which I've made repeatedly, Nathan. So let me just say that. He says, can we stop calling Landon sabbatical such an awful thing, or at least give it context for his health? Absolutely. I have maintained, and I said this on the Best Soccer Show that should be out on NASN.TV today. I maintain that Landon Donovan is well within his rights. I respect the hell out of him for knowing that he needed to do what he did with his sabbatical. I think we can both respect Landon Donovan for his decision and give him the freedom to go. I mean, as fans, we can sort of step out of our soccer fandom and say, hey, you need to do that. This is for you, for your mental health. Go ahead, go do it. But at the same time, recognize that it has a role in his place in this team, and that Klinsmann can say, well, look, I mean, yeah, you needed to go do that. I even if Klinsmann respects it, he can sort of say, I still needed you, and this team is about commitment. And these aren't necessarily good. We're not really calling it one right and one wrong. We're sort of saying that this is a circumstance that played itself out, and that Klinsmann's still within his rights to drop Donovan. Nick, what's up?
Hey, I just wanted to say congratulations on Friday's show. That was epic, man. Well done. I'm so glad that we as soccer fans have this outlet called Soccer Morning. So I want to say thank you for that.
I appreciate that, Nick.
Well, I just want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about the Champions League final and get your thoughts on a couple things. One, Diego Simeone just losing his head, just going mental there at the end of the game. And then two, I'm just kind of curious to think what your thoughts are regarding the lack of experience when it comes to the big primetime moments for Atleti. If you look at the last 5 minutes of that game, that stoppage time, there were many instances where they could have kept the ball, they had some poor clearances, and really they should have run the clock out, and they just didn't. I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are as far as the experience not being in those moments, in those big time moments like that. They played into that. Maybe. I think the game state obviously played a large role in that. If you're tied, if you're close, they had a 1-goal lead, obviously going down the stretch of that game that they were trying to hang on to. I suppose you can make an argument that it's about experience, but they also look again. There's a talent deficit here that has to be recognized. You can't just say, "Well, Atletico Madrid bottled it or they choked," when Real Madrid has the horses to go and win that game and just wasn't showing up themselves until that point. Ronaldo was a non-factor. And again, Eddie in Brooklyn says he was carrying an injury and eventually he came up and made some plays and filled a role that really wasn't his normal role in order to help his team win. But Real Madrid looked not that good. They didn't look very good for a long stretch of that game. And yet they were still close enough to be in striking distance, to get Bale's goal. And then let's just tack on a bunch and change the whole complexion of the game. I just think that Real Madrid's talent advantage trumps any notion that Atletico Madrid lost it because they didn't have experience in that moment. Yeah, and also you could tell too that the cash had run out for Atletico, and I'm just kind of curious. Starting Costa was was a huge mistake on
it was.
Simeone's part as well.
And we haven't really talked about the whys of that. I mean, maybe there's some analysis out there that I haven't seen, and I admit that I've been wrapped up in American soccer stuff recently, but when Simeone makes the decision to start Diego Costa, who again was in a race to get relatively healthy enough to play in that game, and he only goes 9 minutes, and we had the stupid horse placenta thing, and was he being loyal to Costa because Costa is likely to be sold? We already hear that there's a deal in place to move him on to Chelsea. Was this about giving him a send-off? Was this about giving him a role in the biggest game Atletico Madrid will play this season? I don't know, because that's a ridiculous coaching decision to make. If you believe he's able to go a half, maybe you leave him in. Maybe you put him in there, because then you can say, well, this is my best goal scorer. If he's got 45 minutes in him, he really makes a difference for us. We're a different team without him. Then you can justify it. But if you had any doubts at all, you have just burned a substitute in a game that has a very, very, a very high chance, relatively speaking, of going to 120 minutes. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I was shocked to see him come off after 10 minutes. And, hindsight's obviously 2020. Maybe having Costa on the pitch could give, the rest of the guys maybe a psychological boost. But, man, that really backfired on them.
Yeah, Ronaldo said during the broadcast that he thought it was scripted, that this was always the plan to get to start Diego Costa and then to bring him off at that point. And it certainly did have the feel of, we knew this was coming, and we're sort of running a play to get him off at 9 minutes and bring somebody else on. But that just makes it even, again, if that's about loyalty, if that's about giving Diego Costa a chance to appear in that game after everything he's done for them over the last couple of seasons, it's still an insane decision. You have to tell that player, and again, maybe Diego Costa thought he was healthy enough, but you can tell, you can run him through a fitness test and know that he's not 100%. As a coach, it's your responsibility to look that player in the eye and say, look, we are so appreciative of everything that you've done. We would not be here without you. This is the Champions League final, and we would love to have you play, but you're not healthy, and you hurt us if you play. That makes me slightly doubt Simeone as a coach, and he's done everything else right this season except for going nuts at the end of that game.
Yeah, you went mental, that's for sure. But I'll get off the line. I just want to again say thank you for the show. Thank you for everything that you do for us soccer fans, and we really appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Nick. Appreciate that a lot. Thanks a lot. All right, 347-756-6276 is the phone number. Thanks for everybody's called so far. Keep it going if you want. Remember, soccermorning.com is where you go to help support the show. We again, I haven't been pushing it as much as I did in April. We've sort of taken a hands-off approach, let it go a little bit. But we definitely need a push here the last couple of days of the month to help us bridge the gap between now and that World Cup coverage that we're talking about. We've got a bunch of things in the works for the World Cup. We're going to be doing Soccer Morning during the tournament, hopefully have co-hosts to start the tournament and Jerry Dubois. There's a lot of things in the works here, but we need a little bit of a buffer to get us there. So consider giving to the show at soccermorning.com if you want to keep us going. All right, we haven't talked on MLS at all, except for Landon Donovan's 2-goal performance against the Philadelphia Union Sunday. Wow, days all thrown off. So if we want to talk a little MLS, we certainly can. You had Real Salt Lake extending their unbeaten streak to start the season to 12. That's a big achievement, even though it came with a 0-0 draw against FC Dallas, a team that they should have beaten more than likely. Again, RSL dealing with international absences. No Rimondo, no Beckerman, no Sabarillo. Makes it a different sort of league. And when we look at this, I mean, you had the storyline of Donovan returning to the Galaxy, Maurice Adu returning to the Union. So that game perhaps not impacted by international absences, but the rest of these games around the league, Seattle and Vancouver, clearly impacted by Seattle's absences. Not Portland and New York, no Tim Cahill clearly for the Red Bulls, and no Roy Miller as well with Costa Rica. Sporting Kansas City and Toronto, of course, you have Sporting Kansas City dealing with all of those back line issues, exacerbated by the fact that Matt Beasler is gone. Then you have Toronto with no Michael Bradley, and clearly those things are playing a role in how these teams are navigating this period. And it makes the games actually maybe even a little bit more fun because you don't know what's going to happen. You had insanity, Sporting Kansas City and Toronto with the penalty on Daniil Henry, the red card to Caldwell, in the game with Portland and New York, that was clearly a big win for the Portland Timbers. Vancouver and Seattle was, what the heck was going on there? You had, first you had Stephen Fry go on a walkabout. Where are you going, Stephen? Okay, now you're going to be over there. Okay, now when you clear the ball, don't put it in the middle of the field. And sure enough, Gershon Kofi with the lob, and Stephen Fry not able to scramble back to his line. Just ridiculous goalkeeping in that game. And you had that whatever the hell penalty call that was on Jada Merritt. What was that? I'm confused. Someone explain it to me. And I didn't even mention. Oh, I did mention the penalty on Danielle Henry in the Toronto Sporting Kansas City game. I found this extremely interesting. Went back to watch the highlights of that game on MLSsoccer.com, and yeah, there's no replay of that. There's no replay of Danielle Henry fouling Juliao and that penalty coming. You go from an unconnected, unrelated play to Dom Dwyer putting in the penalty. What happened to the foul? Where's the foul? I want to see the foul. I don't understand. But you do have Jada Merritt's foul in quotes, on Cam Weaver in the other highlight video for Seattle and Vancouver. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Very strange. Jada Merritt didn't do anything wrong as far as I could tell. Did he put his hands on Cam Weaver? Did he push down? Is that really a penalty in that situation? Cam Weaver, go up and get the ball. Then you had the other penalty, Corey Ash, getting called for a penalty on Steven Linhart in San Jose. A 50-50 ball, shoulder to shoulder. Linhart scrambling on his butt to get up and get control of the ball. Ash bodies him off. Again, shoulder to shoulder. 50-50. If that's a penalty, it's going to be happening all the time. I know we've talked about grabbing in the box and that MLS is going to, or the referees are going to crack down on some of this. But that was not good this weekend. That was not good at all. But we get a full review of all of this. Can we get Pro on the show? We have their number. Maybe I should just ring their office right now. Pro, the Professional Referees Association or Organization, excuse me. Call them up right now. Hey, what happened? Can you please address the issue of the penalties in Kansas City, Vancouver, and San Jose? Can you please do that? As I said, the international absence is affecting the league, but we still got teams trying to scramble for points. New England Revolution beat DC United 2-1. Colorado gets over their scoring issues, which everybody seems to do against Montreal, 4-1 over the Impact. And the Impact, it's going to happen in Montreal because they are a bad team. They are more than likely going to finish last in the league this season because Chivas USA has made just enough progress. Yeah, they've had some injuries, but they've made just enough progress that you can imagine them beating out Montreal for last place. So when Montreal finishes last overall, well, first of all, is Frank Klopp's going to make it to the end of the season for them to finish last overall? Or are they going to make a change? And if they make a change, does that really have any... I want to say impact. Does that have any impact on the rest of their season? Because from what I can tell, this is mostly a personnel issue. Yeah, you got Justin Mapp, who's played very well up there. And I think Jack McInerney's learning, and he still can score some goals. And Marco Di Vaio is still dangerous on his day. Where's the rest of this for Montreal? Do they have any idea of how to turn this around? Who is Joey Saputo going to blame? Is he going to blame Frank Klopas, who was handed a team? Here, Frank, here's your team. Now go win with it. Not, hey, Frank, what do you think about this guy? Let's bring this guy. How do you want to play? Let's bring in the proper personnel. No, none of that. Nick DeSantis was making those decisions. Nick DeSantis said, I'm going to put this team together and I'm going to hire my guy. My guy is Frank Klopas. Feel bad for Frank Klopas. He's probably going to get fired. And yeah, he deserves some of the blame. But man, I don't know. Can anybody win with that team? Well, we might find out. Looking through the rest of these results, Columbus beats Chicago 2-0. Good stuff there from the Crew. I mentioned RSL and Dallas playing to a scoreless draw. Trouble for RSL if they lose Joao Plata for any extended period of time, especially with Sabaril gone right now. We obviously need to be looking at the schedule because MLS does have the break coming up for at least the World Cup group stage. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Joel Plata has been very good for RSL in the games that he's played. Been fantastic for them this season. Been one of my favorite players to watch in MLS this year. So I'm being told, okay, yeah, Duffy Alverson, Sounders Duff. The piggyback ride that Jada Merrick gave Cam Weaver. Again, it just seems real weak, Duffy. It just seems real weak to give a penalty on that call. I don't know. Just doesn't seem like that's the kind of call you should make to turn a game. And obviously, without that call, probably doesn't end up in a draw. Now, again, the Vancouver benefited from Stephen Fry being completely whacked out of his mind when he did his little journey to the corner. But it's odd to turn the game on that. Yeah, MLS tonight as well. Not only do we have USA Azerbaijan, and I'm going to continue to ask you guys for your expectations of that game. Has the bar changed in light of Landon Donovan's exclusion, in light of the team that Jurgen Klinsmann has picked? Is there more pressure on him and this team to perform well than there might have been prior to Thursday? That game's on, I want to say ESPN2. I got to check the TV on that game. Somebody give me an idea. But Mike McGrew with a very good point. Tonight in MLS, Tuesday night action, Sporting Kansas City taking on the New York Red Bulls. So we have that game to look forward to this evening ahead of USA Azerbaijan, 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Yeah, ESPN2 for both of those games. Good doubleheader. So there you go. All right, now my opportunity to take a break. I haven't done so yet. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll reset. We'll talk. We'll get the phone lines back going back. Whatever. We'll get the phone lines working again. Open. I don't know. Language. Tuesday. Memorial Day. Talk to you guys in a minute. Soccer Morning, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV, soccermorning.com.
Flashcards. Fake knife. Real cat.
Do 1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome back to Soccer Morning on NASN with Jason Davis.
Pack on Soccer Morning coming out of Memorial Day weekend. All sorts of fired up. Went an hour without a break. Yeah, that is a record for Soccer Morning. A couple people saying that on Twitter. No break. And that's, you know what, that's the best thing about our setup. Now, would it be great for us to be on some sort of radio network? Absolutely. We would love to get there. Maybe we'll start a letter writing campaign. Send a letter to somebody in some radio network to get us on the air. But the best thing about not being there yet is that we can take a break whenever we want to. I can go an hour, take your phone calls, and just talk soccer and not have to worry about, gotta get on in our spot for I don't know, old people insurance. What do they sell on like AM radio? What are the ads like? You know that's where we'd end up, right? Be fantastic to end up on AM radio. I'm just saying. What do they sell? It's like sunset or awnings and stuff like that, as seen on TV products. Phone line's still open, 347-756-6276. And the strange thing about it is that this show has clout You don't even know. People don't even know. I mean, some of you do. Everybody who supports the show, thank you so much. You know you're part of a movement here. This is a Soccer Morning movement. Soccermorning.com. Just to mention that again. This is a movement. We do pretty damn good. On Friday, during the Landon Donovan special, which really wasn't supposed to be that, but turned into one, we had something like 10,000 people listening to the show live through a web stream with zero promotion. Nobody's out there telling people about our show. We don't have ads anywhere. This is all word of mouth and internet and Twitter. Word of Twitter, I guess. That's why we need your help to spread the word, because that's the only way for it to happen. Is the only way for people to find out that we exist is for you to tell them. You individually, hi, Soccer Morning listener. It's your responsibility to tell somebody else about this show so that they'll listen to it, so that then they'll tell somebody, and so on and so forth. And then the movement will reach critical mass, and there won't be any stopping us whatsoever. All right. Let's move on. We can talk national team, U.S. national team against Azerbaijan tonight. There are a couple of things that are interesting here. One of them is the Bernie Votes factor. Bernie Votes, head coach of Azerbaijan for the last 7 years. That's got to be, he's got to be in the top, 10% in the world for longevity when it comes to national team gigs. Him and Yogi Love, right? Because Yogi took that job right after the 2006 World Cup. I think, to check on the timeline. Because obviously, Jurgen Klinsmann had the job, moved on to Bayern Munich, eventually made his way back to the United States to coach the U.S. national team. So Bernie Votes is a special advisor, not an assistant coach. He's not going to, apparently, I don't know, is he going to be on the sideline? All I know is that what we've got out of Bernie so far about his role is that essentially he's an advanced scout for the United States. He's going to go watch all of the teams in the group play their warm-up friendlies. He's going to be the guy that's going to report back to Jurgen and say, this is how we attack this team, et cetera, et cetera. That's his role. And he's on the sideline for Azerbaijan tonight. I'll talk about any conflict of interest. They want to bury that. Bertie says, I'm going to come out and play my best team in my best formation. I'm not going to make any allowances or turn things differently for Jurgen Klinsmann so that he can prepare his... Okay, fine. That's good. I don't want that. I want the best challenge possible. And it's interesting that you get this grain of, and I'm going to put this to you again. Your question right now, 347-756-6276, or on Twitter at Soccer Morning Twitter account. Your question, what is the bar tonight? What does the United States need to do to relieve some pressure coming out of the Donovan exclusion, coming out of picking Julian Green and John Brooks and DeAndre Yedlin and Brad Davis and Chris Wondolowski? What do they need to do tonight to give you some sense that these are the right choices, that they are headed in the right direction? I've got 4-0 from JT Delaney. Need to beat them 4-0 for me to be satisfied. I think that's probably about it. It's got to be a right around 4-0. Don't give up a goal, too, because the defensive issues are the overwhelming problem for the national team heading into the World Cup. Omar Gonzalez still carrying a knock. Maybe not trustworthy. Is he the starting center back still? Is he going to be paired with Matt Beasler? I think we've got word coming out of camp that it's going to be Jeff Cameron. That it's going to be Jeff Cameron in the middle. And Klinsman's saying that Jeff Cameron's a center back. He's going to back that up by starting the kid. And that it might be Fabian Johnson on the right and DeMarcus Beasley on the left. Okay? Alejandro Bedoya, left side of midfield. Graham Zusi on the other side. And you tell me if you think that a combination at a flank manned by DeMarcus Beasley, we don't know this is happening. I'm jumping ahead here. But I've seen some people who are in San Francisco talk about the team lining up in this way. You tell me if a flank manned by DeMarcus Beasley and Alejandro Bedoya fills you with a lot of confidence defensively. Now, can they get forward? Hell yeah, they can get forward. It can be dangerous that way. Beasley is still an incredibly quick player. He's got an amazing first step. Whether he is the fastest player on the field anymore, I don't know. but he's got an amazingly quick first step. And if he can get the overlap working, that's real danger. And playing against Azerbaijan is not going to shouldn't test. Again, where's the bar? It shouldn't test Bedoya and Beasley. But is that really what you think is that going to be good enough for the World Cup? Those two guys? I like them both. But we know Beasley's not a natural defender. We know he's not a natural left back. If he gets put on an island, it's going to be difficult. And he's going to get forward. And if he gets forward, will Bedoya cover that space? Who's going to step into that space? Edwards got 2-0 with the strikers scoring at least one and the defenders with a strong showing, especially Cameron and Beasler. 2-0. You're on the low end of it, Eddie. I think. I'm sorry, Ed, Edward, whatever people call you. I've got Yogi Love took over in 2008. Thank you for that. So his longevity is not quite up there yet. Morten Olsen's been head coach of Denmark since 2000. So there's one. It's a good one. Kinsian of Metagang, got to be comfortable. 3-0 would ease my mind. 3-0 and dominant throughout. Right? Not 3-0 with, we took some pressure. Azerbaijan created a bunch of chances. We looked terrible. We couldn't hold the ball. But they didn't score. We got a set-piece goal. Maybe one of them's a penalty. It can't just be a scoreline. It's got to be the context of the scoreline. It's got to be how they do it. You want to see 3 goals from the run of play. Maybe a set piece. You're okay with that. The United States always tries to score on set pieces. Always good on set pieces. Defending set pieces, that's something we want to worry about tonight as well. A couple other responses here. That Batman kid says, I just, hold on. Get my computer to work for me. Thank you very much. They need to show that those players can do just as good or better than they would with Donovan. I don't think the problem is you can't really prove that. You can't prove that they are better this way than they would be with Donovan because Donovan's not here. You're not going to get evidence of here's the team playing with Landon Donovan. Here's the team playing without Landon Donovan in the same exact circumstances. All the variables are the same. Now which team is better? You're not going to get that. That's what gives Klinsmann his out. Number 23 Sports. We are setting expectations too high if we expect 4-0, 5-0. Azerbaijan doesn't give up goals like that. Okay, well, I'm not saying expectations are there. I'm saying what do people want to see to make them feel comfortable? I guess if you believe Azerbaijan is going to be easy to score on, what you're getting here is a message that you're probably wrong. I don't know enough about Azerbaijan to say either way. I don't know. Okay, what did they do in their group? Because that's part of the reason that Bertie Votes is here. They drew with Russia in qualifying. Okay, that's impressive. That's impressive. Sibasor. Azerbaijan is no worse than Guatemala or Trinidad. It could be a 1 or 2 goal game. I think most people would expect the United States to win something like 3-0 over Guatemala. At this point, in preparations. Again, I'm not talking about what I expect to happen. I'm not saying the United States is going to win. I'm asking you, where is the line to fill you with some confidence, to give you a sense that this team is headed in the right direction? Are they good enough to beat Azerbaijan 5-0? I don't think so right now. But if they did, that would give me a big boost in confidence heading into the World Cup. They also beat Northern Ireland and drew twice with Israel. Speaking of Israel taking on Mexico tonight at the Azteca. Here's something interesting. I saw that game was on the schedule, Mexico and Israel. I just assumed it was in the United States somewhere. Like, I didn't even look at the schedule. I didn't even look at where it was. I saw Mexico and Israel because the news is out that Cuauhtemoc Blanco is going to play 15 or 20 minutes for Mexico tonight as a sort of send-off game, a testimonial match of some sort. A thank you for your service. That's interesting. Blanco's 41 years old. I think he just signed with Puebla. Now he's going to suit up for the national team one more time against Israel at the Azteca. But again, I sort of assumed, oh, look, Mexico's playing a friendly. Where in the United States are they playing it? But they're playing in Mexico. They're playing at the Azteca. How much will that game inform how people feel about Mexico's chances? I don't know. Where does Mexico stand? Lots of positive vibes coming out of Mexico camp right now. I saw a selfie, a team selfie. Miguel Herrera and team celebrating being together because that's what you do. Do we have any sense at all that the United States has that same kind of camaraderie? And I don't want to do this thing where we compare the United States and Mexico, but in a general sense. In a general sense, is this, you feel pretty good about the team? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think Jurgen Klinsmann is good at developing that team spirit. I don't think that's his forte. I think maybe, you give Bob Bradley credit. He certainly seemed to do that. What he did actively to create it, I have no idea. I wasn't in the locker room. But those teams played like it. You see some of that coming out. And I just wondered, has he wrecked it? Has Klinsmann wrecked any sense of that? 860, you're on the air.
Hey, man, this is Josh in Connecticut.
Hey, Josh.
So my thought on this is that there's no bar for them to get over for me. It's more about how they play. I'm more interested in what formation they come out with and where guys are playing. Klinsmann said that it's starting with Azerbaijan is because they want to come out with a win. So you've got to win. But other than that, I don't think it's a bar. I think it's more where guys are playing and how they're playing, what formation.
I think that's fair. Over the course, you take the whole game as a picture and you say, okay, look, they were the better team over 90 minutes. We certainly care about that. That's going to be important. But let's say they give up a set-piece goal and somebody loses their mark. That's going to be a talking point.
Oh, and it should be. I mean, if they give up a goal to Azerbaijan, it should be a talking point, especially in the send-off series. But, I mean, I don't think we should be setting a bar at 3-0. Oh, that's what, we need to see for this exclusion of Landon Donovan to be okay.
Okay.
All
right. Again, it's not just about, he is the marquee name, that he's going to get most of the attention. He's the guy that's missing that you notice. But it's also about sort of how he put this team together as a whole. And I think it's interesting to hear Klinsmann talk, because while it was brought up earlier in the show that Klinsmann once said he doesn't expect the United States can't win the World Cup. There's a different kind of expectation or a different kind of bar for them in his head. He has said things like, we're going to surprise some people and we're not going to be the underdogs and those kind of things, which do kind of fit into the more American stereotype of what a coach is supposed to say rah in public. So I don't know where he's coming from. And that's, I guess that's everything that we've learned over the past couple of days, is that Jurgen Klinsmann, you can't figure him out. You're not going to figure him out. Just wait and see what he does.
Yeah, but I think that perhaps that's more of the European sensibility of coming over and saying, we're not prepared to win the World Cup. And from, just a purely soccer fan standpoint, I would have been disappointed if you told me we were going to win the World Cup. Because
why?
I would have said to myself, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Why does that matter?
I have standards, but the standard isn't winning the World Cup.
Okay, but look, there's a rational mind for a soccer fan. There's the rational element of, yes, we know that the United States is not good as good as Brazil or Spain or Belgium or Italy or France or England or whatever. Maybe as good as England. You know that rationally. But again, there's this unspoken covenant between coach and fan where you want the coach, whether he believes it or not, whether you believe it or not, to project confidence. And I'm not saying it makes it any, it makes it Klinsmann any worse a coach that he doesn't do it. I'm just saying that I think that there's that element that we're missing here. We know the United States is probably not good enough to win the World Cup. I think everybody's aware of that. We all want them to just go as far as they can. That's why I put success in this tournament of getting out of the group. That's success to me because it's the three teams that they're playing. But I think that it's interesting that Klinsmann doesn't want to play that game, and maybe it's wrong. That maybe we should stop playing that game.
Well, I think that in professional sports, common American professional sports, like for me, I'm a Red Sox fan because I live in Connecticut. If John Farrell comes out and says, we're not going to try and win the World Series, or I don't think we're good enough to win the World Series this year, yeah, I'd be upset because I get that. But I think my knowledge and understanding of soccer is such that It's just a different ball of wax. So I think what I see is like two different sort of psyches.
But
one, that is my standard American sports psyche, and then the one that's devoted to soccer is
why is there?
if you know what I mean.
Okay, I mean that's really interesting. That we're gonna drive some soccer exceptionalism here. Soccer's different. We treat soccer differently. It doesn't fit into the same sort of narrative structure as the rest of American sports. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, again. Part of this is...
I think one day it will. I just don't think it does right now.
Okay. There's this odd thing that happens in soccer, and you're kind of getting to it here. And I'm not criticizing you. I'm wondering where this comes from. There's this notion within American soccer fans, I'm not going to put this on anybody else, that if you overstate your team's chances, or if you are a fan and imagine a possibility where your team wins everything, that somehow you're a lesser soccer fan, or you don't deserve. I don't know. It's this bullying that happens. If somebody says, I'm a U.S. fan and I think we can make the quarterfinals this year, there's a group of fans even within the U.S. soccer fan community who want to shout those people down and say, "You're an idiot. What are you talking about? We're not good enough." And if you think that we are, then you really don't know anything about soccer. Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, we're talking about fandom here. At the very, why do we all have to be experts? Can't we just some of these people just be fans? And if Klinsmann wants to feed those people, that'd be fine by me. Even if we all know the chances are very, very, very slim. It's a lot to put on you. I apologize, Josh. You made a decent point. Go ahead.
No, that's certainly all right. But I guess my point is, and I can't alter what kind of fan I am. I'm the type of fan that follows all of my sports rabidly. And so for me, if he wants to hit home with me, and maybe you're right against people that have a more emotional tie to the team than a cerebral tie like I do. But for me, if he were to tell me that, I would lose confidence in him. I don't want to hear that. He's supposed to be the most knowledgeable person in associated with the team. So I need him to tell me that.
Let me change this a little bit. Okay, let me change the focus and see what you make of this. Rather than there's a difference between Jurgen Klinsmann or any coach for a team that is unlikely to win everything to say we're good enough to win, or say our goal is to win. Okay. We shouldn't conflate the two. You can say we're going to the World Cup to win the World Cup, and also recognize that you are not necessarily good enough to do so. I mean, because again, this goes back to what Alexi Lawless said about leaving Landon Donovan out, or taking these kids if it's a build towards 2018 thing. If that's what Klinsmann is doing, and again, we don't know, then that's wrong, because why do you go to the World Cup? You go to win the World Cup. That's the whole point. Why would you even bother going if you're just trying to get by or have a good showing? What's the point then? The point is to win the thing. Don't enter the tournament if you don't want to win the tournament. So I suppose what I'm saying then is maybe the difference is a coach who says, we're going to win. We're going down there because we want to win. But also at the same time, perhaps saying, look, of course we're not favorites. Of course it's Brazil and Spain and Argentina and Italy and all these other countries. Of course those teams are better than us, and it's going to take a great effort. But we're going to go down and we're going to try our hardest, and we're going to try to win the whole thing. Would that be different for you?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said.
Okay.
I think that's exactly how I feel about the team, but I don't want him coming out and saying we're good enough to win the World Cup. And I agree that, saying we're going to try versus we're good enough.
Okay.
Those are two different things.
It's interesting that people are sort of offended or feel insulted if a coach says something like, we can win when the odds are against them and the quality is obviously not there. That's interesting to me. I guess I don't make that. Thanks for the phone call, Josh. I guess I don't make that leap to say, hey, this is something that is directly. I don't know. Milena on Twitter, and I'm going to read your tweet, Milena, even though you didn't send it to Soccer Morning. Do fans like to be insulted? We're not all idiots. Do we want to win? Yes. Do we want to live in dreamland? Only sometimes. I suppose my issue with this is that we can be of two minds. And I think being a fan is sometimes being of two minds. Sometimes being a fan is recognizing your team's weaknesses, recognizing that the other team is probably better, but also having this sort of innate and inexplainable and I mean, I don't want to say delusion. I think dream is probably the right word. Belief that if everything goes your way and if everybody plays to their ability, there is a chance. I mean, I just think that what is fandom if you're not going to hang on to the tiny little chance that you can go win it? And maybe that doesn't require Jurgen Klinsmann to talk about it. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe we can do that on our own. Don't have to be guided. All right, got 10 minutes left in this show. It just blazed by today. 347-756-6276 is the phone number if you want to get in the last 10 minutes here. Because it looks like we've got some breaking news updates on the DC United Stadium situation. Probably won't get a chance to review that before we get out of here today. So we'll talk about that perhaps tomorrow. You got the Mexico-Israel friendly, as I mentioned tonight. I'm going to look at the schedule here. That seems to be there's obviously other international friendlies happening right around this time as teams get ready for the World Cup. I've got a bit of news on MLS and the move back to Fox and the new contract in which ESPN will take over streaming games that are not on national television. There is a story out there. I first saw it at VR, so I don't even know where I saw it, but apparently Engadget has it as well. There is a story out there that says ESPN is considering giving access to MLS streaming games without a cable subscription. Excuse me. Now, typically, you were required to have, I think it's for Watch ESPN, you had to have a TV cable subscription. There was a certain group of providers who were signed up to Watch ESPN, and then ESPN3 was a different thing. And if you had an internet provider, there's a group of internet providers. So if you only had internet, you could still get access. I don't know how that's going to all play out, but I do think it's interesting that ESPN is considering giving everybody access to these games, regardless of whether or not you have a cable subscription. All right. This fan psychology thing is going to spin out of control. I'm not sure I don't think I've completely framed it the proper way, even in my thoughts. I mean, again, these are sort of developing as we talk about it here. But there's a couple of things. Jason Keenley, not sure this is a soccer thing. Imagine Cleveland Browns saying, we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. I think phrasing matters. I'm not looking for a coach to say, we're going to win the World Cup, like making a claim or a promise of winning the World Cup. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about going down a road that says we're at least going to try. I suppose that's what it is. Because I don't know. All right, let's just keep moving. I can already tell that this is not producer Trevor's cup of tea. I can already the fact that he hasn't sent me a message and said move on is a little bit surprising. So your ESPN MLS access may be available to everybody, despite whether you have a cable subscription or not. Very interesting stuff there. Also in the stadium realm, and we've covered this a bit here with Curtis Larson and a couple other people, there's been a plan in place to expand BMO Field. There may have been a roof involved, certainly to upgrade that stadium, which is very much MLS 1.0 in its construction, meaning it's closer to Crew Stadium than it is to Sporting Park. And I've never been there, but that's the sense I get. But apparently part of that deal was always that the Toronto Argonauts, the CFL team, would move into the building. And now there were concerns on the part of TFC fans over that move, mostly due to the surface. If you have a football team playing on grass, it's going to tear up the grass. That's going to affect Toronto. Now, their surface has been terrible this year, numerous times already. So they've got to figure that out. But apparently the news is now that the Argonauts are no longer in play. Because part of that deal was that MLSE, who owns TFC, was going to buy the Argonauts to move them into BMO Field. They don't own them now. But the team is on the market. So after a couple of different governmental levels have dragged their feet over funding as part of this expansion and renovation, MLSE is saying, now, look, screw it, we're done. We're not going to bring the Argos in. We're going to move on with our own renovation plan. This is huge news for TFC, for soccer fans who don't want to see their stadium shared with a gridiron team. Surface will be saved, or at least on that level. They're going to host rugby games there during, I think, the Pan American Games. But this is not as much stress year to year on that surface as there would have been. All right. Nick says, it would be nice if MLS would offer up all the games like NBCSN has done with all the BPL games. Yeah, I think that's what we're moving to. Hopefully that's what we're moving to with ESPN next year, which would be good to see. I had somebody say, well, if they're charging a subscription fee, then it's just MLS Live on a new platform. And that's true. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if there's going to be a charge for this service or not. I've been paying, what's MLS Live now? $65? I've been paying the full fee for MLS Live for the last 3-4 years, however long it's been around in this format. I've never done direct kick. So I'll be happy to get streaming games for free. Can we do that? Can we make sure that happens? Fun news out of Spain. Is it fun? What's the update? Saw this. Eibar, very small team, promoted to La Liga or secured promotion to La Liga. This town is they're a town in Basque Country. They are 27. There's 27,000 people in this town. Their stadium seats 5,200 people, and they have been promoted, at least on their performance this season, to La Liga. But there are regulations that may keep them from moving up. Something about raising money. I have to look into this a little bit more. We need to get an expert on to talk about Eibar. I'm reading a Guardian piece here on this. 27,000 people in this town. Their games, obviously don't make big headlines in Spain. They have a chance to move up to La Liga, but they have an annual budget of 3.5 million euros. That's it. They have the lowest wages of any team in their division, and they're moving up to La Liga again. They could move up to La Liga if they can meet their capital value. This is. The main problem is the reappearance of a conspiracy theory. Even though the club may finish as champions, the Spanish FA has insisted that Eibar raise 1.7 million euros in capital value by August 6th. And if they don't, they will be relegated to Segunda B, the third division. Given that Eibar have no debt, practically the only club in the division who can say that, the demand seems unreasonable, to say the least. The club have issued 34,486 shares at 50 euros apiece, hoping to raise the money. So far, they've got up to 40%, but since club rules only allow a maximum holding of 2%, even Xabi Alonso, who campaigned on behalf of the squad and was on behalf of the club and was once on loan there, can't write a very big check. So Eibar's going to need help. They're going to need help. They're going to need people to step up and buy these shares if they're going to be able to stay in La Liga next season. And they'd be an amazing story. I don't know a damn thing about them. But any chance you have to put a team from a town of 27,000 in the top division in your country, one of the biggest leagues in the world, you got to take that opportunity, right? Got to take that opportunity. All right, we're winding down. A couple more minutes left here. We'll give you an update on what we're going to do at NASN for tonight's game, Azerbaijan in San Francisco for the United States, the first test of the 23-man roster as they get prepared for the World Cup. So follow us on Twitter, NASN Soccer, Best Soccer Show, which is where we'll be doing whatever we're doing. I think we're going to be doing something, but pay attention to those Twitter accounts if you're following along there. SoccerMorning.com. Please help out the show. The more of you that sign up for a recurring subscription sort of thing, the better off we are, the more likely we're able to just push this to the side and move forward into the future. And again, the reality is that every month we've got to talk about whether or not it makes sense for us to keep doing this. And at the very least, we want to make it through the World Cup. So we need your help. SoccerMorning.com. Please support the show. A couple of days left. We haven't bugged you all month. We're going to bug you now. SoccerMorning.com. Support their program. All right, we came out of a Memorial Day weekend chock full of soccer. We got a chance to talk about all of it. You guys all called in, added your 2 cents. Fantastic stuff from everybody. We even talked about abs. Thanks, Eddie. Part of that was because there was so much soccer. Part of the reason there were no guests today was because there was so much soccer, and because we all had a chance to kind of sit back and relax yesterday, or deal with food poisoning, one of the two. So we'll get back on the horse tomorrow. Make sure you're back with us for a Wednesday edition of the show. We'll have an MLS game to talk about, a U.S. men's national team game to talk about. We'll take your calls and hopefully have some insight as well into Ibar, some of these other stories, perhaps Mexico and Israel as well. All right, that's going to do it. We're done, right? This was fun. Thank you very much to everybody for listening today. Soccermorning.com. 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 And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.